Hello everybody, the Nameless Narcissist here once again, a simple man diagnosed with NPD, giving you the facts on narcissistic personality disorder and the things that go on in your head. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe, but keep in mind I am no clinician, I can only speak to my own experiences. So, I had an interesting experience today. So I'm in the midst of dealing with the fact that I am going through a breakup, which is awesome, right? And obviously part of this has been, oh my God, like this has been the biggest love of my life and stuff like that. And I'm really hoping that's not true because we lack something called emotional permanence where we can't imagine what our emotions felt like prior, right? We can't, like, weirdly enough, we can't even compare them because we don't remember what our emotions were like. But as I was doing that, I started getting into this state of like anger and like justifying, no, the reason that we broke up was not my fault. It was because of them. They didn't give me enough chances. They didn't see me for who I was. They hated me. They never cared about me. And I was literally about to make a video about that, almost about how my narcissism was justified. But I do this thing where if the person who watches this hears me talk about it, I'm very sorry. It's probably going to become embarrassing for you. But I do this thing where I'll go on Reddit and occasionally I'll search my name to just see who's talking about the Nameless Narcissist, right? And it was like this post that says, "Can NPD be ego dystonic?" Which means like OCD is ego dystonic, right? It causes you distress in a way that you know it's something with your mind. And with NPD, it's ego syntonic, where it's like we think how we're acting is normal. Yes, it causes us a lot of distress because of how we interact with the world, but not because of the disorder itself, if that makes sense. But I saw this person basically say that like, oh yeah, I can be ego dystonic according to Nameless's last video. And I'm like, okay, awesome, somebody's talking about me. But I followed the thread and he mentioned how like eventually those moments of ego dystony leads to rationalization and projection. It's like covered up. And I'm like, fuck, I was doing that. It's strange. It really is. Because I find myself doing this a lot where it almost starts out consciously, right? Like I'm just telling myself, no, they're wrong. But eventually it just becomes part of my narrative. Eventually I just become like immersed in this fantasy that I've made about why I was right, why I am the only one who's right, why I deserve to be mad at whoever I'm mad at. And don't get me wrong, every relationship, and I say this about everything, and it takes two to tango. Like there was issues on both sides. But how easily, like in the course of a few days, I was able to turn that narrative around in my mind to make me purely, people would say the victim, but again, I disagree with the term victim because it's more like we want to be the persecuted protagonist, right? It's like, oh man, the antagonist is doing bad things, but we're the protagonist. Don't know if that makes sense. I have a whole video on that. But it's an issue. It really is. How easily the ego syntonic nature of this disorder can kind of take over. No, I wasn't the one that was wrong. It was them. How could I be wrong? It's weird because I think it's almost splitting, right? I'm like looking at everything that they did wrong and how much significance that now has compared to what I've done, which obviously a lot of it was wrong, right? But it no longer has any significance. It was only them. They could have handled what I did wrong. They just didn't give me a chance. It's so fucking weird. It really is. I wish I could describe it to you guys better. And I think this happens with almost every, like I have these moments of clarity where I'm hating, I guess not clarity because I'm splitting in the other direction, right? I can only see it as either I did all good or I did all bad. And like right after it happens, I'm like hating myself. I'm saying, you were the worst person in the world, Jacob. You did everything wrong. You ruined this. It's because of you. You're unlovable. You're terrible. You cannot maintain relationships. And then time goes on and slowly I go from that and it flips over to, well, they betrayed me. They deserved what I did. Or they could have handled what I did. They should have put up with it. They should have been able to calm me down. They hate that part of me, so they hate all of me. I feel like weirdly enough, I feel like a bunch of people who have been in a relationship with narcissists right now being like, oh my God, that's exactly what happened, right? No, because like literally that's what it is I'll get super defensive, and if I suffer a severe consequence about it, I'll fucking break down, right? You threaten to leave the narcissist, they're gonna be like sobbing and shit, saying everything's always their fault, they're terrible, etc., etc., etc. Then over time, if you bring that back up again, they're gonna get super defensive about it. No, you were the one that was wrong, right? And now I'm questioning things. I'm asking myself, because here's the thing, I do have that tendency, even when I'm in the right, that in the moment right after, I will like break down. I'll be like, oh my God, everything's my fault. But afterwards, I tell myself that I have more clarity about it. Oh my God, yeah, like I was just being self-deprecating. Clearly they were in the wrong in this situation. Obviously there's no such thing as one person being in the wrong and one person being in the right. But I get convinced. I'm like, no, like I was just self-defeating in that moment, and now I see it for what it was. They were wrong. And I'm sure there's some cases that I can objectively look at and be like, yeah, that was the case. And I'm sitting here being like, how many things do I feel like I was justified in now was just my own tricks playing on me? How many stories have I told you guys that like I have rewritten in my own head, like unconsciously? I'm not trying to lie to anybody, but unconsciously written in my own head to make me the victim. Again, not the victim. You know the fucking drill. But it's a big question for me. How much has my brain deluded me over all these years? It's a scary thought, isn't it? Even for people who aren't narcissists there, the thing that you cannot trust your own judgment, how your pathological defenses are constantly guarding you against truths that you can't handle. It's horrifying. It really fucking is. I'm literally sitting here going through every single friendship that I've had, questioning how right I was. I'm questioning how right I was in this last relationship. Was I even right at all? Which, obviously in some cases I have. Like, again, every relationship takes two to tango. There's nobody who's completely right in any relationship. And there's things that would keep somebody in a relationship that would speak to their own issues. I make that clear. But also, black and white thinking. So I'm also like, oh, I must have done everything wrong then if they didn't do everything wrong. Maybe that's the issue then. Is that I'm thinking black and white about it. Is that one person's wrong and one person's not. Maybe I should take some time and be like, what did I do wrong? But also, what did they do wrong? Put some nuance on it. Even in these relationships where I have written myself off as a bad guy or them off as a bad guy. Because there are some that like I maintain that, yeah, I was the bad guy. I think. Fuck. It's kind of. It usually goes like, this is probably another rationalization. It's probably like, oh, I fucked that person over, but they overreacted. And it's like, oh yeah, I get it. I get why they're not friends with me, but they overreacted. Minimizing, right? I'm not gaslighting. I'm not trying to make them feel crazy. Gosh, you always accuse me of that. Well, not really, but like, I don't think most narcissists gaslight on purpose, right? It's like I've never been like, I need to prove that I'm right, so I'm going to make them feel insane, so that they question their reality and therefore they think I'm right. No, usually I genuinely believe what I'm saying. I would say, not even usually. I cannot think of a time that I was like, I'm gonna make this person feel fucking crazy for some reason. I'm sure there's some people who do that. Sure, I'm sure. I mean, hell, that movie Gaslight probably wasn't based off of nothing, but regardless. Fuck. Thank you, Reddit person, for sending me into an existential crisis. I'm joking. It's fine. Anyways, that's all I really got to say. Nameless Narcissist, over and out. I stole that from my viewers. Sorry, Jody. They're your fucking meds.